There is a very specific feeling that I think, everyone listening has probably experienced at least once.
Oh, definitely.
It's that moment in a relationship or a project or even just a really busy social season where the energy just vanishes.
Right.
You just hit a wall. One day you're totally excited and the next you're exhausted. And I think the immediate internal narrative is always, well, panic.
Yeah, we interpret that drop in energy as a symptom of failure.
Exactly.
We think, oh no, the spark is gone, or, I'm just not cut out for this.
We view a pause as basically a breakup in slow motion. And usually when that happens, we try to force our way through it or we just bail completely.
This is the worst thing you can do.
Right. But today we're doing a deep dive into a stack of documents that actually argues for a third option.
And it's a fascinating option.
It really is. We've got our hands on internal strategy memos, emails, and content drafts from an organization called the Blossom Society.
Right, or TBS for short.
Yeah.
And we should clarify, this isn't just some self-help blog. The Blossom Society operates as a private community.
Yeah.
But they aren't just a social club. They operate in the space of ethical non-monogamy, or ENM, and really high-complexity relationship dynamics.
Which is a super crucial detail for context, because if you think managing one relationship is tiring...
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine managing 3, plus a career, plus a social life. The stakes for burnout in their user base are incredibly high.
High stakes and, honestly, a massive emotional load. The documents make it clear that these are people navigating what they call primary bonds and lifestyle fatigue, plus intense social calibration.
Right.
If TBS gets this wrong, people don't just unsubscribe, they blow up their lives.
Yeah.
So what we are looking at is essentially a stress test for human relationships.
And the specific project we're analyzing today is titled When Petals Wilt.
Such an interesting title.
I know, I want to start with that title because it sounds very poetic, right? Very soft. But reading through the head of coaching's memo, this is actually a hard-nosed operational strategy. It's entirely about behavior modification.
It is. It's essentially a retention strategy that's disguised as a wellness initiative.
Yeah.
The core problem they are solving is what they call, and I love this phrase, unintegrated intensity.
Let's break that down for the listener. Unintegrated intensity. That sounds like a very technical term for basically doing too much. What are they actually seeing in their data?
So they're seeing a cycle. New members join the community, they get really excited, which is what we might call new relationship energy.
The NRE phase, yeah.
Exactly. They overcommit, they overschedule, and then their nervous systems completely crash.
Which is inevitable.
Right. And when they crash, they feel shame. They feel like they've failed at the lifestyle. So they ghost. They leave the community entirely silently.
And that's the actual business problem for TBS, silent churn.
Yes.
People aren't leaving because they hate the product. They're leaving because they burn themselves out using it.
Precisely. So when Petals Wilt is an attempt to intervene in that specific cycle, the head of coaching proposes reframing wilting, which they define as resentment, sensory overload, or just needing a nap, honestly.
Yeah, just being tired.
Reframing that not as a failure, but as a maintenance signal.
I got stuck on that phrase when I was reading. Maintenance signal. It's very mechanical. It's like a check engine light on your dashboard.
And that's the key insight. When your check engine light comes on, you don't say, my car is a moral failure.
Right, you don't abandon the car on the side of the highway.
Exactly. You pull over. You fix it. TBS is trying to destigmatize the biological reality of human limits. They are telling their users that the wilt is actually a feature of the system, not a bug.
The memo connects this directly to their cultural values, too. There's a really interesting line here about the women are sovereign baseline.
Yes, that stood out to me as well.
They argue that in high-pressure social environments, women often feel this massive performative pressure to be open or adventurous all the time.
That's a massive pain point. In any community that's focused on freedom or exploration, there is this shadow side where people feel they have to say yes just to prove they belong.
Yeah, to prove they are cool enough to be there.
Exactly. And TBS is flipping that entirely. They are framing downshifting, saying no, staying home, closing the app as an act of sovereignty.
It's almost like they are using reverse psychology. Like, if you're really powerful, you're strong enough to stop.
That's exactly what they're doing. They want to shift the user mindset from growth before access, meaning I have to constantly grow and push myself to get the benefits, to consent-led pacing.
Consent-led pacing, I like that.
It's about integration rather than just the constant accumulation of new experiences.
But here's where I want to push back a little, or at least play devil's advocate for a second. It's one thing to tell people it's okay to rest. We see that on Instagram wellness posts literally every single day.
Oh, constantly listen to your body.
Right. But in the heat of the moment, when you're totally overwhelmed and someone is actively asking you for a date or a connection, resting is really hard to do. Does this strategy actually address the how?
See, that is the best part of these documents. They totally acknowledge that philosophy is useless when your cortisol is spiking. And this is where we get into the tool shed.
The tool shed, this is their resource library for members, right?
Yes. And looking at the list of deliverables, they aren't writing long theoretical essays. They're building what they call artifacts. The first one is the 48-hour maintain first aid protocol.
First aid. That wording implies urgency. It sounds like something you grab in a total emergency.
It definitely implies a triage situation. This is for when a user is actively spiraling. But look at the second deliverable on that list. Kind, effective communication scripts. And it specifically says copy-paste.
I genuinely laughed out loud when I saw copy-paste in a high-level strategy deck. It feels so impersonal. Like, here, copy this text to break up with your boyfriend, or copy this to tell your friends you aren't coming out tonight.
It does feel impersonal at first glance. But from a neuroscience perspective, it is brilliant. Think about what happens when you are in nervous system overload, which is the exact state they are targeting.
You freeze.
You freeze.
Yeah.
Your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles logic, empathy, complex language, it essentially goes offline. You physically cannot find the right words.
So you either say nothing at all, which results in ghosting, or you say something hurtful because you're just lashing out from stress.
Right. By providing a copy-paste script, TBS is handing you a prosthetic prefrontal cortex.
A prosthetic prefrontal cortex. Wow.
They are saying, you don't have to think right now. Just send this exact message.
Yeah.
It entirely removes the cognitive load of trying to figure out how to say something nicely.
It lowers the barrier to being decent. You don't have to summon the energy to be kind. You just borrow it from their library.
Exactly. Kindness requires structure. That's the unspoken rule running through all of this. They give users the exact words to handle tricky things like mismatched desire or needing a social battery recharge, totally eliminating the emotional labor of drafting a text message from scratch.
I see the rebalance checklist mentioned here too, and a social battery recharge plan. These are highly tangible things. It strikes me that they are treating emotions almost like logistics.
The COO actually calls this protection through clarity. And this perfectly segues into why the C-suite is even signing off on this project. We really need to look at the COO's email.
Yeah, the tone shifts dramatically from the coaching team to the operations team.
It really does.
The COO is much less poetic. They are talking straight numbers, moderation load, churn.
This is the fascinating tension in modern community management. Usually a business wants you to engage as much as possible. They want you on the app, swiping, clicking, messaging.
Right. Attention economy 101. Just keep the eyeballs on the screen at all costs.
But the COO of TBS is arguing for what they call protective friction.
Protective friction. Unpack that for us, because normally tech companies want zero friction. They want it to be seamless.
They argue that if a user burns out, they are a total loss for the business. They leave, they cancel their membership, and they probably badmouth the community to their friends.
Yeah.
But if the community proactively encourages them to stop using the app for 48 hours via this first aid protocol, they actually stay in the long run. They are trading short-term engagement for long-term lifetime value, LTV.
So telling your customers to go away is actually a customer loyalty play.
If going away prevents them from exploding, yes. And the COO also explicitly mentions the downstream moderation load.
I saw that in the email. They categorize users as amber turning red?
Right. Amber is presumably a user who is annoyed, tired, or maybe just started to get snappy in the forums. Red is a user who is actively breaking rules, fighting in the comments, or harassing other people.
And the COO realizes that red users are incredibly expensive.
Very expensive. They require staff time, they require direct intervention, they require bans.
So if you can give the user a tool to self-regulate when they are just amber, the staff doesn't even have to get involved. It saves the company real money on support tickets.
Exactly. They want to turn this maintain protocol into a reusable platform artifact. Imagine a moderator seeing a user getting snippy in a comment thread. Instead of engaging in a long, drawn-out debate, the mod just drops a link. Hey, looks like you might need the 48-hour protocol.
It's a very polite corporate way of saying go touch grass.
It is entirely go touch grass, but institutionalized and done with empathy. The marketing director has a great phrase in their email about this. They say, "We're building a garden with standards, not a feed with noise."
That's a really strong distinction. Garden versus feed. I feel like the feed has just become the default setting for our entire lives.
Think about a social media feed, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. It is infinite. It never sleeps. It demands constant input from you. But a garden has seasons.
Right.
It has winter. It has times where things have to die back so they can actually bloom again later.
And wilting is just a natural part of that garden cycle. You can't have a garden that is in full bloom 365 days a year. It's impossible.
If you try to force a garden to bloom 365 days a year, you destroy the soil. And that is the exact metaphor for their user base. If they extract too much attention from their users, they destroy the community itself.
I want to pivot a bit to the guardrails section of these documents, because this is where the rubber meets the road from a legal standpoint. The head of coaching has a whole section specifically titled Guardrails to Keep Us Coaching Led, and they seem borderline obsessed with not sounding like therapists.
They absolutely have to be. This is the third rail of the lifestyle and coaching industry. TBS is selling relationship strategy, communication skills, and community access. They're absolutely not licensed mental health professionals.
The memo explicitly forbids the use of diagnostic language. They have a whole list of words that their staff is not allowed to use.
This is a crucial distinction for anyone running a community or a coaching business. Coaching focuses on the future. Skills, actions, making agreements. Therapy often focuses on the past. Trauma, pathology, diagnosis.
So a coach at TBS can say, here's a script to ask your partner for some space. But a coach cannot say, you need space because your mother ignored you as a child.
Correct. Or even saying something like, your partner is a narcissist. That is technically a medical diagnosis. If TBS staff starts throwing that language around, they open the company up to massive liability for practicing medicine without a license.
The risk and mitigation section talks a lot about mission creep. They seem terrified that their coaches are going to try to save people.
Because it's a totally natural human instinct. You see someone hurting in your community, you want to help them. But the risk document mandates a strict disclaimer box on these tools. If there is distress, coercion, or any kind of mental health crisis, the protocol is rigid. Stop. Refer them to a professional.
It's interesting that the COO views this limitation not as a weakness of the product, but as a feature. They call it protection through clarity.
It actually makes the product better. By refusing to do therapy, it forces TBS to be hypopractical. They can't just offer vague healing vibes. They have to offer concrete, skills-based solutions.
Right.
It forces them to build the tool shed rather than a counseling center. It keeps them squarely in their lane, which is honestly more helpful for the user who just needs a tactical fix right now.
Let's look at how they actually plan to sell this concept to the users. We have the marketing director's email outlining the launch campaign. They have to make wilting, which sounds depressing on its face, sound empowering. How do you market giving up for the weekend?
Their tone pillars for the campaign are spot on. They list calm authority and invitation over judgment, which makes sense. When you are panicked and overwhelmed, you don't want a cheerleader. You want a pilot. You want someone completely calm at the controls.
The proposed slogan in the deck is, a wilt is a maintenance signal, not a verdict.
That is the bumper sticker right there. It removes all the shame. It tells the user, this doesn't mean you're bad at relationships. It just means you're a human being.
And there's another one they propose. Your no protects the garden.
Now that one is fascinating because it connects individual boundaries to community health. If I say no to a date because I'm exhausted, I'm not just being selfish. I'm protecting the community from the bad version of me that would show up if I forced myself to go.
It reframes the word no as an altruistic act. You're actually doing everyone else a favor by staying home in your sweatpants.
Exactly. Which creates a really powerful permission structure for the users. It makes it socially acceptable, even honorable to disconnect.
I also noticed the SEO strategy in this email. The marketing director lists the specific search terms they are targeting with this content. Social battery, 2-yes rule, aftercare debrief.
And step back from apps.
That's the meta one again. They are explicitly targeting people searching for how to get off the internet just to bring them onto their platform.
It shows they deeply understand their customer. Their customer isn't Googling how to find more dates. Their customer is Googling how to survive the dates I already have. By owning terms like social battery, TBS positions itself as the adult in the room.
The marketing director also really doubles down on the copy-paste idea as a viral loop. They say these scripts are designed to be highly shareable.
Think about the mechanics of that. If you see a perfectly worded Instagram post that explains exactly how to tell a partner you need space, you're going to share it to your story. It's a signal to your friends. It says, look, I am emotionally intelligent.
And simultaneously, it's a signal to the market saying, the Blossom Society has the answers.
It builds incredible trust. While apps like Tinder or Hinge are actively gamifying your addiction to keep you swiping, TBS is basically handing you a water bottle and a towel and telling you to go sit on the bench and take a break. That differentiates the brand massively.
And the CEO's sign-off on all of this is pretty glowing. They call the plan crisp, values-aligned, and operationally sensible.
Because the CEO sees the holy trinity of business strategy here. Number one, it solves a massive user problem, which is burnout. Number two, it solves a business problem, which is churn and moderation costs. And number three, it creates a brilliant marketing hook, the garden versus the feed.
So bringing this all together for you listening, we started with this idea of the crash, that moment the energy just dies. And usually we think that means the end of whatever we're doing.
The wilt.
The wilt. The Blossom Society provides a framework here that I think applies way outside the niche of ethical non-monogamy. It's this core idea that unintegrated intensity is costly.
That is the main takeaway line for me. We live in a culture of unintegrated intensity. We sprint, we crash, we shame ourselves, and then we just repeat the cycle. We treat our energy like it's a credit card with absolutely no limit, and then we're shocked when the bill finally comes due.
And the solution they're offering isn't just more willpower, it's protective friction. It's having a first aid kit ready before you actually need it.
Right. You don't go out and buy a fire extinguisher when the kitchen is already on fire. You buy it when things are totally calm. TBS is building fire extinguishers for relationships.
And they are normalizing the use of scripts, which I think is a part I'm really going to take home with me. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be completely authentic in the moment, but sometimes authentic is just messy.
Sometimes authentic is downright cruel because we are just so tired. If my authentic self wants to scream at you because I'm overstimulated, that is not helpful to my partner. A script bridges the gap between our good intentions and our current capacity. It allows us to act according to our values, even when our nervous system is completely offline.
Kindness requires structure.
Exactly.
So for everyone listening to this deep dive, whether you're managing a complex polycule, a corporate team, or just your own calendar this weekend, the question you have to ask is, where are you pushing for intensity when you should really be applying a 48-hour maintenance protocol?
And do you have the script ready to say no? Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us into the Blossom Society's internal strategy today. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.